The approval of the minutes, and then the only thing we have are 3 public hearing items. We've got only.
That's a great way to say that.
Being optimistic, folks. So we've got the LUP 2201, so this is changing the future land use map for the activity node at Rosebud Road in 78. Anybody have any questions or anything to talk about in the meeting? I mean, now? Then we have the second reading on 2204, which is CKK, which is the townhome development. Anybody have anything on that for the work session?
Just in reviewing it, I don't necessarily have issues other than with some of the variances that are requested. So I don't know if you want to go into detail or...
Well, is it something we're gonna have to flesh out in the meeting, or do you wanna talk about it now?
I don't really think so. Just not a fan of any of the variances that have been requested.
Okay.
Raise a question for Chuck with the second and the third public hearing issues. Both of those have a recommendation, conditions of 90% owner occupied to 10, enforced by the HOA. Are those, are those legal, enforceable?
Sure.
We're
absolutely.
good with all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually been being done for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of communities that have those
Right.
types of provisions.
Now, does it actually say
90-10?
enforced by the HOA? Because I'm looking at the conditions for the Rockdale one. Oh, it says it must be incorporated into the homeowners
Yeah.
association, but it doesn't say.
Yeah, so you would
enforced.
assume the enforcement.
So
would be
I
around-
would,
I don't like to assume.
Yeah.
what page are you on, Christie?
Well, in the, let's see, the first, okay, the Rockdale one would be
It
page
says
3 of 8.
Yeah.
Take a look at the wording on that.
The one on the townhome says, "The development and townhome units are to be deed restricted to at least 90% owner-occupied, fee simple, single-family ownership, while the remaining 10% of the townhome units may be used as non-owner-occupied / rental units. This condition must be incorporated into the homeowners association documents prior to the release of any certificates of occupancy."
That should probably be reworded.
Oh.
Yeah, that should probably be worded rather than to the HOA documents. It should be reworded that should be
A condition of zoning.
a covenant,
Okay.
a covenant to the property.
So incorporated into the covenant.
Should be,
Incorporated
should
into
be,
the covenants.
I would just say, should create a covenant to each of the parcels on the property.
Okay, this condition should, say that again? This condition should,
Here's the way it reads on the townhome one,
This-
right there.
this one. Yeah, this condition
Or must.
must be imposed upon each parcel
imposed upon each parcel.
before the first, this guy would just say this must be a condition on each parcel of the development.
This condition must be imposed upon each parcel.
As a covenant on each parcel, yes.
Imposed as a covenant upon each parcel.
Yes.
But now, do we need to say and?
How about
And
and
enforce?
incorporated into the HOA? Have
That's
both.
fine. I mean, that's fine. They
Oh,
can,
I already crossed
they
that
can
out.
do it, but the covenant is what becomes something that transfers with the property from owner to owner and is enforceable regardless of whether or not the HOA gives them a copy or tells them. If you sign the deeds will say that you take the property. Pretty much every home you buy, there's a clause in their property that says you take subject to covenants of record, easements of record.
Yeah, but by having both, I think it's just belt and
That's fine. Yeah,
suspenders.
that's fine.
But do we need to say it needs to be enforced by the HOA?
Well, I mean,
Or is that a
you're
We
not
don't
gonna
have
be
any-
able to,
you
you're
won't
not
have
gonna be able
sanction,
to make the HOA do it. So I think it's fine, as long as it says it's a covenant, on each parcel, before Jason and them approve, sign off on the plats or anything like that. They're gonna have to ensure that there's a covenant, that those are covenants on each of the properties.
Yeah, we'll have you review them just to make sure.
Yeah, so,
And then I also provided, there's an email from the HOA's attorney in there, it's a one-pager. There's 3 conditions that they wanted to see in the zoning. We didn't add them because they weren't added by the planning commission. I've reviewed them, there doesn't seem to be anything,
This is a handout.
yeah, a little handout, and anything that's gonna be a problem to do. So it's really just to make sure their monument sign is preserved and then to continue the wrought iron fencing around the exterior of the property. To continue what Old Hickory has before, not the old white wood. So, that's not included in the ordinance. I think it's reasonable. I want to put it in here without everybody at least looking through them. I don't.
And that kind of runs full circle back to my mentioning that I am not in favor of approving the request for variances, which then throws condition number 1 into issue because it cites talks about the rezoning site plan and ties everything to that. And if the site plan has those variances designed into it, then that site plan is moot. Correct?
Well, there's one more variance, just to be clear.
Oh,
And it's
yay.
because they improved it. Because that brick wall is on their property,
Mhm.
they had to slide it. They basically had to ask for a variance on the rear. Well, in the new plan, they actually pushed it forward 10 feet to keep it away from the residence, and so they needed a variance from the front. So they just slid it. If the wall wasn't there, they wouldn't need the variance. But it kind of cuts down like
Right.
this, so they didn't have really, that would be part, when I give the presentation, I'll make sure I say
Okay.
that.
But Chuck, how would we handle condition 1?
I think it's expressed later on, read it, there's a condition at the bottom that says unless concurrently asked for. The variance request is what you go by, not the site plan, so if you don't want a certain condition, a variance, you need to make sure when you make your motion that you deny those variances expressly so that number 1 then becomes moot. You have to go to the variances first, and that's why we started illustrating them like that a few years back to kind of, I think at Chuck's request, to make sure that everybody was very aware of what has been approved and what's not.
Okay.
So you don't automatically fold back to the integrated variances and a site plan. If you deny them expressly, they have to come back and submit a plan that works if you approve the zoning. It just means they can't have that variance.
But then the site plan gets approved by staff?
Yeah, against the conditions
Okay.
first. Yeah, I mean, the conditions are actually on the site plan.
And if we specifically deny those variances, then they could not go to Board of Appeals and ask for those variances?
Of course they could, yeah.
They could?
They could, and that's even the last condition, I think, applies. to
Right,
all
and
that.
that's, I would strike 10 if I were moving forward. Okay, well,
Yeah, I
that
mean, they can
steers us in a
always
different direction.
appeal- They can always ask you later, I suppose.
Yeah,
It's not a good practice.
and Todd, you also, I think it probably, if there is something on the site plan that is troubling you, then it's still good to put that on the record during whatever motion is, if there's a motion to approve made, then, make sure that's on the record. And then that way it's clear what you were trying to accomplish and that you had a concern about that. So specifically, if they come back and try to say, oh, well, this is this, and then you say, no, this was specifically addressed and we denied this.
So on one like this, if it's gonna get a little squirrely in the meeting, or there's gonna be a lot of, back and
Changes.
forth or changes, it is perfectly appropriate for whoever might make a motion, if you're making a motion to approve, it's
Read all.
perfectly appropriate to read all the conditions, so that we make sure that we have the ones that we want in that motion. Okay? I mean, we used to do that
Right.
on pretty much all of them.
We did, and it was like,
Now we
started
pretty
getting
much-
up to like 30.
Right.
Yeah, the first 10 are always the same, but.
Well, but we used to make a lot of sausage too during the meetings
Yeah.
on most of the developments where everything was changing like through the whole meeting and you didn't quite know
Right.
what you were winding up with at the end. But it is perfectly acceptable for whoever makes, if you're making a motion to approve,
That's a good
to read
way
every
to
condition.
describe this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then that way we can make sure that everything is in as everyone intended it to be. Okay? And the same thing on Rockdale Circle, if it winds up, if there's some massaging of that project as well and a motion to approve, then it's fine to go ahead and read all of the conditions and the variances. Anything else on either of those projects?
I did have this one condition that, for Century, the one they want to propose to screen, the detention pond. And I'll just read through all detention ponds shall be screened from view of Rockdale Circle with a 6-foot wooden fence, a staggered row of evergreen trees, leaving cypress for days. 10 feet apart, placed 20 feet on center, with a row of deciduous trees placed 40 feet apart, with staggered rows of evergreen shrubs 4 feet apart between the deciduous trees. And you see on the plan, it shows that on the green drawing, the colored rendering. So I didn't add that in either because it wasn't, I'd rather them speak up, and this is something that they were gonna do to soften the view of the detention pond, so I'll just have them speak a little more, but I do have it written down here.
I've got a couple things on that one I wanna ask about. Would it be wise perhaps to require them to set aside enough land where Rockdale Circle divides for perhaps someday being able to maybe put a roundabout in there? That might be a good roundabout location.
That'd be tough because
I think
they've got a
it's too late in the
detention
game
pond.
for that, yeah. I mean, let me see where it is.
But that doesn't mean there wouldn't be enough room for a
On the other
roundabout.
side.
Yeah,
And they'll just come and take it if they have to.
yeah,
Okay.
but they're not,
And without a plan, it's hard to really say what's gonna happen. I think you get a little bit, you get in an area where it's hard to follow through. If you
Well,
just say,
we
we think
can-
we're gonna have a roundabout and
Yeah.
need you to give us your property, they're gonna push back on that a little bit.
Okay, one other thing I have that, I am not happy with the elevations that I've seen for this, development. And, I would like to require, if it looks like maybe we're heading towards approval of it, I'd like to see them required to have a variety in the garage doors that they put on the homes. Jason and I talked about this the other day, and we talked about, things like some of them be carriage house style, some have window panels in them, but at least 4 different types of garage doors, and the same ones can't be in houses next to each other. We talked about that. If that's,
And don't forget the gables too.
yeah, and then I talked to Jason also about I think that the homes could be greatly enhanced if the gables had perhaps gable trusses or some kind of, decorative elements to improve the overall look of the homes. I just think right now they're very uninteresting homes with just a whole sea of white garage doors in the neighborhood. And so those are some of the things I'd like to see them have to do if this goes towards approval.
Okay.
that would need to be done in the form of your motion, that whoever's gonna
Right.
make the motion needs to make a motion with those, and then if
Would-
somebody
It's additional
has an
conditions.
But this would
issue.
be an additional condition,
Right.
per, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
so you would, but you would, yeah, you would make that motion, if there's something that you don't like in those conditions, you can, you can not have those in there too at that time, so. And there may be a need then to amend the motion if someone else has a different thought while they're in there. So like if Todd wants to amend your motion to
Have orange
address, well, to address the issues on the site plan, then that would be the mechanism to do that.
Jason, do we have a copy of that additional requested email?
The one for the detention pond,
Uh-huh.
I'll make you copies.
Okay.
and go back.
It was sent out this morning.
It was sent out this morning. What am I doing in the morning?
I don't know, what are you doing? You're not reading your email.
Handling 170 children?
What, is
Yeah, I'll
that
make some
all?
copies.
Is that all?
And
Surely
Gretchen, you want me to
that,
make?
surely you can multitask.
Drop them all? Yeah. If it's not in my box by Sunday night, it's not getting read. So,
And by a decent hour or something.
that's true, by 8 o'clock, to be specific.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to go over on those before we hit the regular meeting?
Well, I think we need to address communities' lack of ability to contain silt, as they did in their previous projects, and I think we need to be very specific that, have they been cited for their
Yeah.
shadow brick stuff? How many times?
Twice.
Only
They
twice.
paid a couple grand and fine.
Yeah, I got the email
Okay.
today.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of the regular business meeting. And then we have our work session agenda. Any correspondence? I did get a letter that I gave over to Matt from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. Every 5 years, any entity that receives funding or grants for parks and everything gets inspected. And thankfully, we passed our inspection that TW Briscoe Park is indeed being used as a park.
What do you know?
So, we are good to go for another 5 years. I know, I was sweating that one just a little.
I'm glad you all pretended to play Frisbee out there that day.
Any city attorney's report?
I think we can keep moving.
Training opportunities. We have with us tonight the esteemed Freddie Broom from Georgia Municipal Association. Freddie is here. We contacted him about doing some training here with city council and department heads, and he's going to give us a little presentation about, I think, what you've done for other cities and stuff like that. So the floor is yours. Please welcome Freddie, wherever you would like.
Except on the middle of the table.
Okay, well, I can stand here if this is okay with everyone.
Okay, that's fine.
So good afternoon, or good evening, I should say, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to present tonight. So my name is Freddie Broom, and I work with Georgia Municipal Association, also known as GMA. And so I'm here to talk briefly about the program that we have that we started. It's called our Embrace Program. And it's a program that was started back in 2020. And it's a program designed to really help our cities understand the true values of what diversity is, what equity is, and what inclusion is. And a lot of times, people don't really understand what it is, but we have to start incorporating that into our policies and procedures and the way we interact with one another, because it's all about understanding the importance of valuing differences and creating a place where everyone feels like they belong. And so that's what we're out trying to do now, help a lot of our cities doing. We go from cities like the cities of Cartersville, city of Covington, I'm finishing up city of Canton. There we go, we train entire staff So I spent several days up there. Some cities call me in and say, can you just come and do our police department? I went to Tifton, did their police department. Just went to Augusta and did their fire department. So sometimes I do public safety. Went to one city, Hogansville, and there was some issues with being more transparent with elected officials and the community. And so they brought me in and we facilitated some conversations of how can everyone come together to have the conversations to find a way to create a more inclusive community where everyone feels like they belong in the community. And so we brought elected officials and community members together to have conversations as well. So that's kind of what I do in my role of being the director of equity inclusion. It's just really about finding ways that we can strengthen our organizations and strengthen our communities for the better of it all. And so I have a short video as well to kind of show you about the Embrace program, then I can go into some more things as well.
My name is Freddie Broom, and I am the Director of Equity and Inclusion for Georgia Municipal Association and Georgia City Solutions. And we are excited about our Embrace program. It's all about creating a space where people feel like they belong. And that's what Embrace is about. It's about finding a way to get people to understand the true values of embracing equity and inclusion, and we come together and celebrate those differences.
In a historic city with a Confederate monument that sits on our square, I think it is so important in these times of social change to have conversations that we all need to get behind. Conversations, diversity, equity, inclusion. This is something very important.
As an immigrant, I come to this country with a different lens. How I was raised is you include everyone. There's no just one set of people and another set of people. You're all one human. So to have diversity and inclusion as an option, that is important because you bring a difference to the table that maybe your next door neighbor doesn't have. But with this type of training, we all get to understand, hey, look, just because you're different, that doesn't mean that you don't have a say or you don't have a seat at the table. So again, I'm for it.
You know, there's a lot of times when there's a misunderstanding about what our Embrace program is about. Often people think it's only a program about race or gender. And our Embrace program is so much more than that. It's about making people aware of the different cultures, the differences that's in their community. Whether it's race or gender, ethnicity, nationality, sexual identity, sexual orientation. At the end of the day, we're all different, and we have to find a way to, how do we bring those differences together to make our community stronger?
We all need to grow. We all have room to improve. And so for us at the City of Winder, it's not just a checklist. It's for us to value each other, and it's for us to learn from each other. It's a big deal. We get excited about it, and we want to make sure that our community sees us, we see them, and we are serving them with the best understanding and sensitivity as much as we can. You have to continuously look to improve. That's the only way we can make a change and we can make a difference.
This training was really beneficial for our team for a lot of reasons. Some of these subjects, a lot of people got really intimidated about coming into it. But those same groups, they found us to be delivered in a manner that was open to everyone, from your entry-level staff to department heads, and even our council members that attended.
In the end, our Embrace program is about being a resource for our cities, to help them with any initiative they have to make sure that they can create these communities where everyone wants to live, work, and play.
All right, so everybody ready to wave now?
Yeah.
But that's really what it's about. It's about creating communities where people want to live, work, and play. So those that know me, my background is in local government. I spent 25 years in local government before joining GMA. All 25 of those years is in public safety, fire service. So I spent 18 years in North Carolina. I spent 5 years as the fire chief in Valdosta, and then I spent 1 year as fire chief in South Fulton before coming over to GMA. So when I was asked to develop a program, I had that in mind of, with my local government experiences, how do you find a way to create a program where you can bring everyone together? And that's what it's about. So a lot of times we say, oh, we don't need diversity training, because a lot of times people think it's about race. We're not saying need race training. Some cities do call us in and say, we have some issues around race, can you come help us out? But our broad perspective is about understanding that we're all different. And so when we say diversity, that's what we're talking about. Diversity is, when you look at the definition, it says those things that make us different. And so we're trying to get everyone to understand that we're different, but we also have to find a way to recognize our differences, accept our differences, and then come together and work together, because now we understand what those things are to make us different. And so that's what a lot of cities do. So I was with one city with their elected officials, and they had a team building exercise, and they brought me in. I spent 4 hours with them, and that's what we were just talking about. Their differences when it comes to making decisions. Sometimes it is their differences that creates that division why they can't come together. And just getting them to understand that it's okay, because we all agree to disagree all the time, don't we? So we're trying to get everyone to understand, just because we're different doesn't mean we can't come together and make decisions that's best for our cities. Because in the end, our cities expect us to create these places where people want to live, work, and play. And so that's what we do through our Embrace program, just finding a way to bring everyone together. And so we specialize or customize training to meet the city's needs. Some cities, like I said, just a generic, broad training that we do. Some wants to come in and do more team building training. But in the end, it's all around diversity and inclusion and understanding what those words mean and how important it is to incorporate it into your day-to-day operations. And so I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. I don't want to spend too much time talking, because you may have some questions for me.
Any council members have any questions?
Questions?
How long do you typically recommend as a start in terms of your presentation? A day, a week?
Usually 3 hours. So we start off with just a 3-hour training. Come in, do a 3-hour training. Some cities, I'll come in, like Covington, I went there and just did their leadership team. And the leadership team said, no, we need everybody. So I went in and did everyone. Sometimes we just start with that one, and then one organization working with, I went in and do a basic training. And now they bring me back the next month to do some more advanced training with them, to kind of get them up to that level. Because what we realized is that every city is different. And so we had to build a program that can go from Atlanta to the smallest city of 200 people. But at the end of the day, they're still cities. And so we have to find a program that equipped and can reach every city in the place that they're at. And so that's kind of how we do our programs.
And I would imagine that first 3-hour program would identify if there was an area that we needed to do a deeper dive.
Yes.
At some point, yeah.
If we identify something that we need to come back and do further training on, we can.
When I talked to Freddie, I explained that we've started this discussion and we want to take it further, and I've talked with Solange. And I know, Mayor, you've talked with Solange, and like I said last time, Dave and Todd wanted to sign up for a already pre-scheduled diversity workshop that was coming up, I think, in the Atlanta area. But Freddie sent a syllabus or one of those 3-hour sessions, an agenda that I think you had done in McDonough.
That's what I did for McDonough.
And I think I sent it out to you guys, and I'd appreciate if you'd look at that and see, this looks like a good starting point for us. Keep the discussion going, and then we can schedule Freddie to come in and either teach from that agenda, or if you've got a couple of additions or something you wanted to edit. Freddie's just been very open-minded and very good about. I think we'll be able to schedule something where the council would benefit, department heads would benefit, and maybe some volunteers from our boards. So it's a start, and I hope that this keeps the discussion going.
And that's important, because you mentioned the boards, the city of Norcross. Everyone who volunteered on their boards, they sent all of them through that training to make sure that they truly understood exactly what the city's mission was. And when they was representing the city, they represented the city the way the city wanted them to, by thinking inclusively.
So I guess then we just need to talk about when would be a good time, as far as, do we do, like, if we're gonna have, who would we want to have there? I think we were initially talking about city council and department heads.
Yeah, but I also think that also the police department, because they directly work with the people. everybody who actually services, gives service to the public, it's probably gonna be everybody, you know.
Yeah.
See how we can do it, whether it's department by department by department,
Yeah,
depending on Mr. Bloom's schedule,
okay.
you know.
And then, so then we just need to figure out like timing. A weekday, a week afternoon, do we pick a day that you guys are off of school? Or an evening, or Saturday, or, so we'll have to talk about that too.
And I think it's important to open it up to our boards. I
Yeah.
mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the,
Absolutely. Like
Maybe
the
start
parliamentary
with
meeting.
department heads, and
Right, and then
each department head might feel like their specific department needs more,
Something
you know,
different.
focus on one area than another, and
Yeah, because it's gonna be a matter of being able to manage the training in the different departments.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Schedules and
start.
stuff, yeah.
And boards, I mean, y'all appoint those boards.
Right.
You know, establishing a culture and a plan and just a philosophy, be important to involve them in these first steps.
Okay. Well, Freddie, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thank
And
you.
I know you're staying for the meeting
I'll hang
too.
around for the next meeting.
you sure about that?
at least the first 10 minutes.
First 2 minutes.
Why don't we go ahead and do all those public hearing zonings before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're riveting, you don't want to miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Butch had asked to do an update on the senior center activities before the project update, so we'll take item C next.
Lisa and Kathy have put together a lot of good information, a great overview of our services, and a little look ahead, and I will just turn it over to you guys.
Thanks for giving us a little bit of time to hopefully give you some information that will help kind of explain how and why we do what we do. So the first item was I wanted to kind of clarify a little bit. From the mid-1990s to 2006, 1990s was when the senior center was first developed, if that's what you want to call it. Through 2006, the actual membership was 50 plus. Then in 2006, when we had grant funds, in order to do that, we had to go to 55 plus, and the building itself had to be labeled as a senior center. That per the grant funds protocols, I guess, that had to go for 5 years. And then once the 5 years hit, we could do whatever we wanted. We kind of just left it the way it was, but with you guys supporting us with the next phase of the master plan, we're pretty excited about that. So staff, we talked about it and everything, and we felt in order to be proactive, we wanted to go ahead and go back to that. So that was kind of the thought process with what we were doing, and I think there was a little miscommunication there that we were creating something new, but really we were just going back to what originally was the 50 plus. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that, because I think with the new community center and with everything we're moving forward, it's a very positive thing to do that. So that was just the first little tidbit. We often communicate with other agencies within the state through GRPA, which is our association, Parks and Rec Association, but more locally with various topics of the whole wide range of Parks and Rec. We talk to the local ones like Loganville, Duluth, Gwinnett County. We certainly don't do anything without researching and doing those kinds of things. You know, our center hours are based on both the member demands, state and national models, and then definitely just what those of us that have been doing this for a while, just what, you know, we know to kind of be the norm. And so that's what we've had it based off of. We do surveys periodically, at least once a year. Sometimes we do them a little more if there's some topics we want to have the members hit and relay back to us. So the most recent one that we just did, we finished it about 2 weeks ago, I guess. Yeah. And again, we don't always ask the same questions, but some of them are kind of, you know, we follow through because we want to see year to year if it changes, if it does, how does it change. So the last one that we just did, it still kind of followed what it has been, which is the majority of everybody really says that their time that they want to come to the facility is really during weekday hours. We do still get requests from individuals and from groups to utilize the facility outside of our programs. They generally also ask for day shifts. We do try to, the staff kind of relays to them that we're full, which we are right now with most of the time slots. And we let them know though that evenings and weekends are available, but generally at that point they usually decline. But we have been trying to just let everybody know that that is possible. The membership currently is up to 455, which is a pretty big number, pretty good number really. Of that 455, there are 18, which is about 4%, that are 59 and younger. Just to kind of give you a little overall of where that is. So what that tells us again is while we are actively wanting those, 50-year-olds to be involved, as we kind of knew was happening, we're not there yet. The average age of that 455 is actually 74. So that's the average age. It is more active. I mean, I've been here 20 years and it's definitely more active than it was originally. So even when I say 74, it's still definitely an active 74. But again, our thought process is with you all supporting us with the next phase, which will be a community center, that's going to fill a pretty good gap. So our thinking all along has been, what does that look like and what do we need to do now to start to supplement that? Again, one of it is the age drop to get back to what we were. Certainly the other caveat, I guess, is that the trend really right now, just nationwide, not even just in Georgia, seems to be to have 50, 55 plus programs implemented through community centers and not just be in standalone buildings. That's kind of what the norm used to be and what was happening. So the trend is kind of moving away from that. I'm not saying we would never do that. It's just it's moving away from that. So part of, again, and us trying to be proactive and moving forward, that was kind of our thought process. We're very excited about the programs we can offer, and really it'll be some kind of a hybrid look to it between the community center, hopefully the library building, and then still the current building. So all of that, in the future is very exciting because there's all kinds of things we can do. Mm-hmm. So, so our thought isn't just with this building, it's what can we do now in moving forward and looking to the future also. We always have, but whether it's the center here or the Betty Room over there, I mean, any HOA, nonprofit, they can certainly give us a call, and as long as we have advance notice, we can get a rental attendant. So the buildings can still be used after hours. I mean, that's really kind of never been an issue that we weren't trying to do. So we will continue with that. We'll continue to do the surveys so that we can know both if what we're doing is good, what they would like us to add, or if there's something we should take away. So we'll continue to do those surveys. And when we do them, we don't get as many non-member responses. We do get some, but most of them are the members that do reply, which obviously is the group we're kind of targeting. But we'll continue to do that. There's just a lot of information that, we could relay. I think the other big piece that we wanted to certainly talk about today was there are differences in centers throughout the state and again nationally. And I think what we wanted to do was kind of just highlight some of those so that it kind of made a little more sense where we fit in with those other agencies and the way they're run, because they are run differently. So I'll let Kathy kind of talk about that, and I'm going to give you the information that I talked about, what she's talking about, and then we'll give you the survey results from what we just did and then from last year. And you can kind of get an idea of some of the questions last year were COVID related, so like I said, we switch them up a little bit, but so those really we didn't even have those on the one that we just did. But we'll give that to you, that way you guys can read it later, kind of absorb it. If there's something that we missed, maybe it's in there. If not, maybe you can ask us, next time, but hopefully it'll be some good information that you didn't know or makes more sense, I guess. But I'll let Kathy kind of talk about the centers.
She's going to pass this out, but what we've done, she's going to have given you a listing of centers throughout the state of Georgia. And these centers that are on here are ones that are within our same population, because we want to compare apples to apples, so you know what we're talking about. And through that, you can see the first type, because there are 3 different kinds of centers that actually provide services for adults over the age of 50. The first type of center is your typical senior center that has meals. They serve meals, and they usually have assisted services. These are the type of facilities that most people, when they hear the word senior center, that's immediately what they think of. You're on a walker, you're in a wheelchair, you're going to a table, and we're going to have a sing-along, okay? So that is the typical senior center, and I will tell you, that is the majority of what is provided throughout the state of Georgia. This, within our population, you can see, look how many county and cities are there. So that is the meal centers. Now, some of those also will even provide CNAs, nursing assistants, or they may even have a variety of therapeutics that's offered. Very, very different than what we are next door. Okay? So the next center you will see are active adult centers, or what we call an adult activity center. Can be either kind, but those are facilities that are have a wide array of programs for those who are still very active, and usually start at the age of 50. And as you can see within our population, there are only 2 others like us. Okay, so then the very last kind is the community centers for 50+ programs. This is what's very popular right now. And the reason why is because it offers a wide variety of programs that are offered for adults to stay physically active. That's where you can have pickleball, tennis, and you can have walking tracks and walking trails. And so this is where your 50-year-olds, when they hear of a community center, they automatically think, oh, my age belongs there. Because even, I will tell you, even though we are named and our building says senior center, even if we were called an active adult center, it really does not matter. You're smart enough to know what that means, okay? Everybody is. And so for those who are over the age of 50, automatically, because I have 75-year-olds right now, both Lisa and I, our parents, neither one felt at 75 that they were old enough to come to a senior center.
Yeah.
My mom's 86 and she doesn't feel
They're not
like
going to think, because do you know what the word senior means? And this is why I hate it. It's somebody older than you. And even if you're 90, that's somebody older than you. So it is the worst word we could use, but it's what everybody has. So just know we fight against that. And yet at the same time, it's what we have to work with, so we do our best. If you turn the sheet over, you're going to see that we also have listed for you, just so you will see what Gwinnett County offers, just what's in our area, what's around here. And most of them are meal centers, just like we had thought. And then, of course, we have also listed for you the Bethesda in Gwinnett in Lawrenceville, you can see is the only one that even is comparable to what we do. And even though they're comparable, they're still very different in some ways. So, but the newest of the center through Gwinnett County is the George Pierce Park, because that's what's trending right now, is to have a community center, and within that community center start a wing or an area that you have 50+. The people who are 50+ have 100% access to that facility. They can go to the gym, but then they have their own separate area. Now I will tell you, this is very important for those who are over 50. They've raised their kids, and they're done with the kids, okay? So what they do want is an area that children are not allowed in, and that's very important. Because I don't know if y'all remember years ago when we tried to have something at Briscoe Park, our people protested. And the reason why is because the idea was all ages were going to be together. And that is very upsetting to a lot of people who are over 50 who feel like they've earned their time to have fun without the children being there. So I'm just saying. But want you to know too, on the very last portion here, this speaks to the challenges that all centers nationwide experience in serving the 50-something age group, because this is not new. We are all very familiar with it. However, that is why Parks and Rec through Snellville, we're headed in the direction with doing a building that is a community center that, like Lisa said, we can keep our facility here. We can also send a lot of our programs that are aerobics. We have line dancing, we have Zumba, and a lot of those programs could be being offered at Briscoe at a community center, as well as utilizing the new library, and then we can have a lot of options to where that 50-plus age will feel included and be a part of it. But we hope y'all will take the time to just read over the information, and we do appreciate y'all taking the opportunity to let us have this opportunity to make sure that we explain our services to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions real quick?
Not having a bunch of time to flip through this right away, did we ask what the percentage of Snellville residents to non-residents, because that often comes up when I have people
We
comment.
would already have that with the membership, though.
Yeah.
That goes through the membership. So that wouldn't even have to be on the survey. We have that
Okay.
with the paperwork they do, so we could get you that.
We can get
Okay.
That's my point. That doesn't have to be on the survey.
Okay.
But we could get you that number.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa and Kathy. Butch, it's on you now.
I think you got your project update list in front of you here. When it comes to the town center, Hodges and Hicks are back now working on the hardscape and the pedestrian amenities. Can't tell a whole lot yet, but they're out there working. The Thrive lease is now complete. I got an email from Ramon today saying he signed it and returned it back. The DDA met last week and signed it, or authorized Don to sign when it came back. Michael Kidd has the pavilion plans that had been approved by the county. He's ready to bring those back and review those to everybody, and then hopefully bid it out.
Approved by the county?
That's the
The
word that I
question
got.
popped in my mind
Yeah.
too.
More like fire marshal approval.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
They
okay.
only approve them.
Yeah, they have to.
They were gonna approve the architectural design.
We are.
How much money are they giving us?
Yeah.
What's their contract?
Making progress still on VE for both the Thrive space and some things in the Grove work that we're looking at. And I think the county BOC is going to approve the first budget amendment for on the second floor, hopefully at their next meeting. I don't know if that came up today or not, Matt, but it's kind of odd. We're responsible for all the costs, any extra cost, but they have to approve the change orders also. So we'll let that happen. Sidewalk improvements, every property owner meeting that we've had has been very positive. Everybody wants the sidewalks, and 99% of the people don't mind losing their trees. We have one person on Pinehurst that we're working on, and but
It's not me.
It's not that far down, but people are going to love it. There still are some more small survey updates. Larry had a drainage issue or two on Skyland that needed to get done, and we're keeping the county informed at every step, hoping that we can get some of their sidewalk money. Neighborhood beautification, we're working on setting a meeting up. Barbara gave us a list of names. Shelley Marlott has been a great resource. We've got to get in touch with her to make sure that we have updated contacts for all these organizations that are out there working. Zoning category review, we've had some good discussion. There's one item on the agenda tonight that has to do with the first steps of a large development, but I think somewhere down the road, we'll probably have to have another work session and talk a little bit more about the major developments. We'll update you on where those are. Package sales referendum, everything's going well there. I can tell you that the November election, if there are 10 words in the AJC, you're gonna start getting calls from every TV station. So we've had several.
We saw you on TV.
Several of those lately.
So what happened to the video of the special called meeting?
On October the 2nd?
No, on August 2nd.
I mean, August
Yeah,
2nd.
August
This didn't
2nd.
work.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Oh,
So we had no
I was wondering,
audio.
there was no-
Yeah, we had no audio. That was, yeah.
Okay.
Economic development, rehab work is ongoing at Cobblestone. Have they told you when the Georgia Trend article's coming out? It should be, hopefully, September, maybe October.
Or maybe, yeah, I would think when it is.
Okay. The Mars Award has been applied for. We have not heard anything back from them. Hopefully
I got an email too for the Visionary City Award. I think that's through ARC.
we've got that. I think Dave sent that in.
Okay, because I think the police department's doing a lot of things that would fall under one of those items. The community engagement where y'all going out and doing that, I think we ought to submit for that too.
We check a few boxes there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Briscoe Park, pre-bid questions all answered. Bids were just received today. We got 3 strong bids. We have to review them and see where we are on the maintenance facility. We may not be totally down to where our initial budget was, but we're a lot closer. So we'll have to look at those bids and see where the numbers are. The building is ordered and hopefully being manufactured. We had some colors to pick out, so they're moving. Staff update tonight. Lisa and Kathy hit on where we were, where we are, where potentially we're going. I hope everybody will just review the comments and the information. We'll keep that discussion ongoing, but a couple of things that they mentioned really hit home with me. When I was the manager in Henry County, sure, it's a county, there are a lot, it's a lot bigger geographical area. Every one of our senior centers had meals. We provided CNAs for a lot of our members. It's a different facility, and I'm glad you hit the population numbers. I mean, it gives people a little better feel for what communities our size are doing when it comes to active adult and senior activities. I've got to do better with that active adult stuff.
Well, we gotta be careful with that too, because it's the Snellville AA Center. Going to initials, that might be an issue too.
Some active adults could go either way.
North and Wisteria, PFPR, Preliminary Field Plan Review, that was held this week. All the parties were there. We had county folks, we had city folks, we had engineers. It went very well. There are a few things that we need to finalize. When we get the plan updated, we'll bring everybody back. We'll have Larry come in and he can go over it page by page. And it always helps to take a tour. Maybe we can all come early one day and just have a walk around, or maybe a Saturday morning. You can really see a lot of things on the street that looking at a set of plans just doesn't compute. Like I said, the final plan will be reviewed with the mayor and council when we update some of the changes there. But it was good. Yes. We had not only county kind of white collar staff. We had their signal crews out there, people who know what's under the ground, where their camera system is, and so we had a lot of good good conversation about how we needed to address things out on the street. And so we've got a few items to work on there, but overall, for a preliminary field plan review, I think it went very positively. You always get a lot of things come to the surface, and you can work out getting to the final plan. So it was a good 2 or 3 hours there with everybody.
You have 1 minute for the next topic.
Oh, the next item. I think I sent this out earlier to everybody. This is a proposed IGA with the county. Basically, they want to put about 12,500 linear feet of new water line in the Pinehurst area. That will be replacing all the PVC. You guys probably notice all the cuts in the road from where PVC gets leaks. They're replacing it all with ductile iron. That's not going to cost us anything. There are, if you look at Valley Creek Circle, there's about, that area right there, there's about $350,000 worth of paving to do. We worked it out where we would participate in the program. We'd be responsible for a maximum of $200,000. So for $200,000, we get $350,000 worth of paving. I think it's a good deal. It keeps them busy here. They're looking at sanitary sewer, potential upgrades in sanitary sewer on the other side of Pinehurst to get into the big collector line that they put in for our town center needs. So I just wanted everybody to look at that, and if you have any questions, let me know. But I need to give them a positive or negative consensus. No, we aren't signing it tonight, we aren't doing anything like that, but
Would
it's
you
really.
plan to have it on the next meeting?
Yeah, we are.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
And we put some money, I think, in the ARPA funds to keep Gwinnett Water in town and doing more improvements.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the work session.
Motion to adjourn?
There's a motion, is there a second? Second by Gretchen, all in favor? We're out of here.